That's number 3 Kansas dribbling out the clock. And it is Kansas State, their rival, and Deshaun Gordon stealing the ball and going the other way. Silvio De Sousa didn't like that. He blocked a shot, and he stands over the man in the process. That's taunting, and then all of this ensues. The bench is empty. Punches are thrown. De Sousa, at one point in the middle of this skirmish, picks up a stool and appears ready to use it as a weapon before an assistant coach grabs it from him. Local police help to eventually break up the brawl, which spills into an area where fans with disabilities were sitting. Here are both coaches after the game on the incident.
Obviously, it's an embarrassment. It's not something that you'd be proud of. You know, what happened is absolutely zero signs of toughness. I mean, it's a sign of immaturity and selfishness more so than it is toughness. But still, it's inexcusable. I mean, these things can't happen. This doesn't have anything to do with competition. Those were selfish motives on why it took place at the end.
You win with class, you lose with class. It's disappointing that anything had to happen at the end. It's a bad play. You know, it's disappointing. Life lessons for our young guys. Hopefully next time they'll be a little smarter.
All right, the Kansas AD, Jeff Long, issued the statement. The conduct of a few of our student athletes at the conclusion of tonight's game was simply unacceptable and not reflective of who we are. Coach Self and I will review the incident along with the Big 12 Conference in Kansas State to determine appropriate consequences. There's no place for this conduct in college athletics or here at Kansas. I'd like to apologize to the Big 12, Kansas State, Gene Taylor, Bruce Weber, and all fans for the lack of sportsmanship from members of our team this evening. Our Hall of Famer Dick Vitale saw what happened. Here was his reaction.
Absolutely sickening, unbelievable. In 40 years I'm on TV, I haven't seen anything like that unless you go to the NBA and you look at the Pistons brawl that took place at the Palace. I think there's no doubt in my mind that De Sousa never, ever should put a uniform on again in college basketball. None. He's holding a chair. I mean, that's criminal. He's going to hurt somebody. I mean, I don't want to hear the excuse that they stole the ball with time running out, should have never done such. Give me a break. That was ugly.
Please. So we have had a little conversation about this morning. We've not yet heard from you, Jalen. I'll give you the floor. What do you think should come from this?
The student athletes were irresponsible. They were not disciplined. You don't like to see that level of behavior in any way, shape, or form in any sporting event. However, unfortunately, we live in a society where that's actually celebrated in hockey and baseball, but that's another subject for another day. But with that being said, I totally disagree with our Hall of Famer, Dick Vitale, who I have great admiration for. I'm not going to go to the extreme of feeling like these student athletes should never play again. It's an isolated incident. I don't believe it's going to happen again. And so now that we can take in the totality of, did anybody get injured? Was any of the fans injured? Were any of the players injured? Now that I see that none of that took place, I think some suspension should happen, and the young men should continue to play basketball.
I will take it there real quick, Jay Rose, because we don't see that kind of outrage in baseball. We see a lot of fights in baseball or hockey. By the way, high school basketball, there's been multiple shootings this year in high school basketball games. People have died. You've seen brawls, right? And all I'm saying is, if you've ever been jumped or if you've ever been in a fight, I don't know from all the angles that I've seen who threw the first punch. It's not evident yet. But if you're in a fight and you don't know who's coming at you from which way, you're not thinking practically. You're thinking about you're reactive in that moment. I'm not saying it makes it right. But when we want to criticize college kids, fans get angry about their on-the-court performance. But then all of a sudden, when they do something like this where they're not thinking, we want to treat them like adults, right? So I'm just saying, let's put this in context. If we want to give him 10 games, I understand that. But to completely say, get him out of college basketball, he's what's wrong in college basketball, that's wrong. That's not right. He has a chance to redeem himself, and that's what college basketball should be about.
I see your point. I think part of the important context here, RJ, is that this was a fight that then spilled over into an area where there were fans with disabilities that were seated in that area. A lot of times in baseball, that's happening on the field. It's happening in a place where fans who have come to watch the game are out of harm's way.
And that's the one thing that I kind of argue between hockey and baseball is that fans are never involved in that. Now, the difference between the Malice and the Palace is that players were fighting fans. This was more of something that spilled over. And that's one of the reasons why the NBA early on, before the Malice and the Palace, was like, hey, we can't have this escalating to the off the court. We can't have players rushing on. My thing with Dick Vitale, to say a kid should never put on a jersey again, I think the suspension should be strong and it should be right of way. But we can't penalize. And I saw Nick Saban sit up there and criticize all the reporters one time when they were talking about, oh, I've had this guy, and everyone was saying he shouldn't be on our team in Michigan State. But at the end of the day, I kept him on our team. He did the penalties. He did all the things that he needed to do to earn his way to be back on our team. And then he plays in the NFL for 15 years, and his daughter's going to Princeton. That's what we need to teach these young kids is like, hey, pay the penalty, do what you need to do to get back on the court.
Do you know, Laura? Then put a barrier around the game. Because football, there's a barrier. Sure. Hockey, there's a barrier. I'm saying, but so you can't say because the fight popped off in the area that was disabled. I understand that, but that's due to the way we govern the game. That's not. It's completely different.
I'm fair with that. Here's the thing. I am completely in agreement with you guys. I do not believe that the young man should be thrown out for life and we should never look at him again. But let us also not use that to minimize what happened. What happened was potentially very dangerous, regardless of which students it happens to be that are sitting in that section, and the fact that it was what it was makes it all that much worse. But the reality is there should be significant consequences because none of this happens if the fight doesn't start.
So a couple of things, and we've all been in this situation. First off, Kansas, when you're winning the game and you're trying to dribble the clock out, you can't let them steal the ball from you. That's your fault, number one. Number two, the defense should keep playing because we down 20 points. Number one. When you steal the ball and you go for the layup, of course the defender is not going to try to block your shot. Now, when the defender stands over you when you're on the ground, that creates the altercation. It's one thing to beat me. It's another thing to show me up.
Well, but now understand this. They didn't start the fight. There were people that, and you can't see in that initial video, it wasn't the, I blocked your shot. Look, you stole the ball from me. I should be able to block your shot and look at you like, don't try that again, right? Like, that's respect. That's competition. It was the people that came in from that moment right there that escalated the situation.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports, highlights, and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus right now.